We'll start with I guess, the main two asks that you had for me, which was demystifying in a way how do getting raises work, and then once you get a raise, of course, what would be nice as well as promotions. And it's interesting, at least the number of times that I've had this kind of conversation, like I did with you, where I offer that as a content, I offer that as an insight. I've yet to find other people that really do this, that talk about how it works and just sort of lay it out there very plainly for anybody that wants to learn what that process is and do their best to kind of make that happen. So I'm always excited to kind of deliver this information. So the starting the raise one actually has a very, very simple set of first few steps that you do. And it always surprises people, but yet when they think about it, they understand, which is, if you think about it, I like kind of the Olympics analogy a little bit, right? You got to get on the team, and then you want to compete, and then you're trying to get the medals, right? Gold medal, if you get the gold medal, and the gold medal in this case, I guess, could be the raise, but you could get a smaller raise and call it a silver medal, I guess. But so how do we go through this process? How do we get there? Well, believe it or not, there's the first simple thing, and I say this as somebody who's both worked for and done what I'm about to tell you, as well as managed and explained to those that work for me, this is how this works. This is what I'm looking for. So I'm speaking from both angles, but there's number one, the very, very first thing you can do to differentiate yourself and to compete essentially in this goal to kind of get on the Olympic team and to get that raise is in differentiating yourself as somebody who should be able to talk about this raise is, believe it or not, I don't know, Charlie, Kristen, if you want to guess, actually, we could do it that way. The number one easiest thing you can do to kind of maybe, let's say you go from not even being on the team to being on the team, the Olympic team. Either of you willing to venture a guess? I don't know if they've been muted. Charlie, you might have been muted. Well,
I just unmuted. You have to engage, and you have to
that
be a benefit.
absolutely, yes. And if I change it just subtly, that will work, which is show up on time. It's that simple. Show up on time, right?
Not even just on time, early.
Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we? And I was about
Yeah.
to say that. Absolutely. It's something where when you think about it is, and I don't know about you all, but nobody likes waking up. Nobody likes their alarm going off. I know we have all those people out there that love to hit the snooze button. I don't understand the snooze button, because if you hit snooze, you just get woken up again. I hate being woken up, so I'd rather just do it once a day. Um, but once you're up, once you've chosen this job, once you said yes to them, I would like to work here, I'd like to do whatever it is that you're offering me to do, you're going to show up eventually. You're going to get up eventually. So why not just plan it in such a way that you do all that and you can show up on time, to Kristen's point? Absolutely. I was taught in customer service in my early days, and those phones go live at 8 o'clock or 7:30 or whatever your time is. You don't have a choice. The phones go live when they go live. So you need to be there. And I was taught that 15 minutes early is on time. And I took that to heart, so much so that if I was 10 minutes early, I was stressing because I was late. In my head, I was late. Right? I don't have enough time to get there, get settled, get my coffee, get at the desk, prepare myself for the job. Right. And so that's what I would say is, again, you've chosen at this point, unless you're independently wealthy, you've chosen at this point to try and go to this job, do this job. You said yes to your boss. I want to come and do whatever it is and earn money here, et cetera, et cetera. So just show up on time and as you say, a little early. That's number one. Just doing that will get you on the team. Just doing that will differentiate you from 80 to 90% of the workforce. And it's surprising, but it's true. And so it goes to show, I guess, how hard it is for some people, but equally, if it's something that you can make yourself do, it shows how easy it is to take that first step towards getting that raise. Okay. That's number one. That's the number one thing you can do, is just show up on time. What's number two? And again, I say a lot of these things, they're not necessarily hard, and you may not like doing them, like getting up early and showing up on time, but they're not really hard. Kristen, Charlie, care to guess number two? Second thing you can do, and let's say this gets you on the medal. You're on the podium if you do this.
Would it be asking for, like, going and asking for something to do or showing initiative?
I love that. I love that. And it does relate to where we're going to get to, but you're already skipping ahead in the story. The number two thing is just do the job. Whatever the job was you said yes to, whatever job that you're going to now and you're going to show up on time, whatever job it is that you've been given, actually do the job. Again, so many people will show up. Maybe they'll mess about a little bit. Maybe they'll try to do as little as they can. For whatever reason, they've decided that they've interviewed and said yes and all these things, and they're now showing up to get paid, but then they don't do the work. They don't just do the job. That as well will differentiate you. And again, as a manager and somebody who's done this process, you'd be surprised how many times those two things now have you on the podium, right? You're going for one of the medals. You really, really are. You're basically almost there in terms of how to get that raise and how to differentiate yourself and have your boss think that you're a pretty amazing worker and want to give you that raise when we get there. So, your videos come on. Are you not believing me here? She's like, wait, I want to get in here. I got to talk about this. So that those are the two. Okay. Now, number three is maybe the slightly harder bit, and you were starting to touch on that, Kristen, which is okay. Now you're doing what I call kind of the basics, and you're on the podium. You're just deciding what medal you're going to get, right? So you're showing up on time, which is early, and you're doing the job that you said you were going to do. Remember, you accepted this job. Okay, you're already getting a medal. All right, this is, and those aren't again necessarily hard. You may not like them. There you go, but you're doing this. This is the bit that seems to be, I guess, the hard bit for a lot of people, but it's exactly what you said, Kristen, which is most jobs at some point will have something called a one-on-one. At some point, your boss will have a period in time where you come together, you meet, and you talk about your performance. You talk about how you're doing. They might talk to you about things that they would like to see you improve, or they might give you some praise because you're showing up on time and doing the job about how well you're doing. And it's at this point that you're checking in that I want you to start doing this bit that most people don't hear about, which is the very first time you do this, have a conversation with your boss and ask them, how do raises work and when do they come, right? Most businesses will do an annual review. Once a year, they will review you. It's a formal process. Once a year, within that review is the opportunity to get a raise. Okay. So what you want to do is ask them, when is that and how does that work? And let them talk, let them tell you as much information as you can learn about that, because that's the secret sauce. That's what you're trying to learn. That's the game that you're trying to play when you show up on time and do the job to get that raise. Okay. And so let's use an example. A lot of people, for some reason, it's April, right? So we'll say it's April because usually maybe it's the fiscal year. All right, every April we give people raises. You go, thank you. That's great. That's wonderful. Now I know about that. And I have between now and then, whenever April is and whenever today is, to impress upon you and to do really well and get a raise. What do I need to do to get that raise? Simple question. Just ask them, right? And they're going to tell you, and they're probably going to start with the two that you're already doing. So you're already ahead of the game, as I've told you. And then they're going to tell you some stuff that I don't know, because every job can be a little bit different. Okay, but whatever they're telling you, my guess is, and you'll probably be surprised, they're not telling you super hard things. They're really not. It's probably the first two plus 3, 4, and 5, which are a lot easier than the snooze button. Okay, a lot easier than having to get up. So you want to do those things. Now, here's something that I was able to do as well in my career, which is with another question. If you're willing to do it, you can ask politely and respectfully. What I was able to do is usually break the record for the highest raise ever given. And the way you do that is, again, you just ask another question. Well, thank you, boss. That's great. This is good information. When this raise shows up in April, when I do these things for you that are really, really good, what's the raise look like? What kind of raise could I expect if it happened? And it's almost always a range. It's a range, right? Let's make it up. It's 6 to 8%, let's say. Oh, you can get somewhere in the range of 6 to 8% raise. That's lovely, you say. That's great. I'm going to do that. I'm going to work really, really hard and I'm going to do it. And in fact, could I get more than 8? Is it possible to break that record? If I work so hard for you that when this raise opportunity comes up and you go do whatever you do, because I'm not invited, you go talk to some people about how these raises work. And again, I'm probably not allowed to be in that meeting, but I will have given you my body of work all the way from now till April. would you be able to get me more than 8? And what you don't do at this point, by the way, is give them a number. You don't say, can I get 10? Because you may have just shortchanged yourself. Can I get more than 8? Yeah, well, maybe. What do you mean? Well, if I work really, really, really hard, could I get more than 8? What would that look like? What do you think is possible? Well, you might be able to get 13. Ooh, okay, you see, that's why you don't say 10. Let them tell you. Leave it open-ended, right? But what are you going to do? Show up on time, do the job, and whatever else they said is important. And then every time you have this one-on-one, which is usually weekly, sometimes it can be every 2 weeks, very rarely it might be monthly, but you check in and you say, how am I doing? Am I on track? When April comes, are you still going to support me in this process that I'm not invited to this meeting where you're going to go say, hey, oh my gosh, this Chris guy, have you seen what he's done? He deserves a lot. Well, okay, we'll give him 6 to 8%. No, 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 no. You don't understand how much Chris is doing. Have you seen all of the work that Chris has done? I call that your ammunition, right? You've given the ammo to go in there and have this fight, right? Because again, most companies aren't used to people breaking the record. So you really got to give them a lot of ammo. But when you do, the boss is going to go, oh, no, we need to make an exception in this case because this is what this person's done. And more than likely, they all already know because you're this rarest of rarest beasts who's showing up time, doing the job, doing everything else they said, and you're doing it the highest level. And you know it's the highest level because every one-on-one you're checking in. Am I still doing it? Am I still doing it? No, you missed it this week. Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Well, you didn't do this, or you didn't do this, or you could have done more. I'm going to fix that. And I'll next time we meet, I'm going to check in. And next time you meet, did I fix that? I'm back up? Yes, you are. Thank you. Wonderful. We're on track for April. And that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. Rinsing and repeating and doing these things. And that is how you can break the record for the highest raise ever given in any company that you might work for. Now, of course, some companies, they have their own restrictions. You know, we're in hard times this year. 2020 is an odd year, right? Really, really tough year. If nobody's getting raises, you're not going to break the record for the highest raise. In fact, the record might be getting any raise in a market where nobody's getting raises or whatever. So you got to be a little flexible with whatever's going on in the economy and whatever's going on with the business. But if you're having these conversations with your boss and you don't like the answers, you should at least be aware of that so you can make a decision about whether you want to find a different boss, right? Do you want to go find a different job? Do you want to go find somewhere else where your work will put you on that pedestal so that you can do these things? Okay. But that's the basics right there of just basically managing your boss, doing your job, and understanding how raises work and trying to do your best to obtain that for yourself. Okay. Charlie, Kristen, I don't know if any of that sparked any questions, any thoughts. Sound right? Have you gone through this with anybody?
No, that's awesome. You did a great job. I was thinking the one thing that people tell me as far as this goes is to kind of own that job too. So if you're a food server, own your sector, section. If you whatever you're doing, own that. If you're doing a CNC machine, if you're doing drafting, own that space and make that yours, and your boss will love that.
Oh, so true. Because what you need to remember, Charlie, you're absolutely right, is as much as you're working for yourself and you're trying to get this high raise or break the record for the highest raise ever given, you're also making your boss look so good.
Exactly.
Right? Their team is performing amazingly. Whatever you do, whatever your output is, whatever your product or service is at a higher level because you've done this. And they love that. I've never had a manager say to me when I offer to work to this level for them, say, oh no, I hate this idea. This is a bad contract. Why would I do this? I've never had it. But you're just making sure that for all of this effort you're putting in, you've managed and you have an expectation of what you want them to do for you. Because you're not allowed into this room as a manager who's been in the room where the raises are handed out. That's a private discussion. But I do have all of the ammunition, as I say. I have all of the details of what my team had done and how that team compared to other teams. This is the Olympic, competition part of it. Is you basically want to outperform everybody, even in other teams, by doing what you did better, faster, stronger than anybody else. And you have a goal. You're not doing it for nothing. You have a goal. So I like that analogy. And in fact, Charlie, it can be as simple as a candy bar in terms of breaking the raise. Very short story. I don't know why what you just said made me think of this, but At one point in my career, I worked at Blockbuster. I don't know if anybody even remembers what Blockbuster
Sure.
was.
Yeah.
It was VHS tapes, where we're all Netflix and DVDs now, what have you. But it was when you used to rent movies from a store, and I used to work at the cash register, and I used to stock shelves, and I love that because I love movies. But I remember sitting at the cash register and working the cash register, and you'd meet people for about 15 seconds. Here you go, let me rent this movie, etc. And I remember I said to myself, there's not really much opportunity to do any more than that. How can I get a raise? What can I do that shows that I'm the gold medal cash register guy at Blockbuster? And it came to my mind that if in that brief amount of time, 15, 30 seconds, whatever it was, just to scan their tapes, give them their movies and say, have a good night. If I could get a tip, like a waiter or a waitress, if I could get them to give me a tip, that means that in that short period of time, that small interaction, I've delivered exemplary service in some way that they've decided is worth value.
Oh,
And I remember that the way that showed up one day is I don't know who I was talking to, but I was just being very customer servicey and social and probably recommended movies and all sorts. That they said, you're awesome. Can I buy you a candy bar? Pick anything you want here from this rack. And on your break, you can have that on me. And I thought I did it. There we go. And in probably a 30-second interaction, I treated somebody so well, and I listened to them and interacted and heard them so well that that's what they wanted to do. So it can be anything that proves this point, Charlie. It doesn't have to always just be the rates.
Chris,
Or yeah.
Why is it so hard for people to ask for raises? It seems like the way you're explaining it, it makes it like really easy, but I think a lot of times people stress out and they psych themselves out about it, and it becomes like this huge thing, instead of something that you're leading up to.
Well, I think part of the answer is exactly what you said, is that the way I'm describing it, hopefully is demystifying it. It's taking the magic away. It really is this simple process. And it's something that you rinse and repeat every day, and that you rinse and repeat on every one-on-one, right? And so that may just by itself, hopefully, allow a lot of other people to approach their bosses when the next one-on-one happens, have a very polite, respectful conversation where you're just learning. Educate me, boss. How does this work? When is the review period? You're supposed to do this thing called an annual review. Do we do that? Oh, we do. When is that? And then how does that work, et cetera, et cetera. But on the personal side, Chris, I can tell you, and there's actually a name for this. Charlie probably knows it. Imposter syndrome. We all walk around thinking we're going to get caught, and that the whole world's going to figure out that we're not really who we seem to be, and that we're a fake or a charlatan or not real or not worthy. And I don't know why I feel that. Everybody feels that. It's a very human trait, And what I try to do to sort of eliminate that is to turn it into small little steps where you're just proving yourself every day by showing up on time, doing the job and whatever else they've asked you to do. That's not necessarily super hard. You just may not like it because you have to get up early enough to show up on time. But that's how I try to help people get rid of that. Get rid of thinking I'm not deserving of a raise, or I'm not deserving of being given a really good raise. Well, if you're checking in all the time and you're learning, I am doing this work and I'm doing it successfully and I'm doing it to a higher degree than my peers, so that when my boss goes into this room that I'm not invited to go argue for me, well, now I feel like I maybe did deserve it, because not only did I do the work, but I had the conversation that led to it. So I don't know if that's the best answer to your question. It's a little bit of where it comes from, but also why I think this should hopefully help.
That's great.
Right?
Thank
It
you.
proves your worth because you're going to do it every day. So now we're all doing great. We're all breaking records and we're getting raises, or if we're not getting raises, we're moving to a different company in a different position where we can get those raises. And that's wonderful, right? We're making money and hopefully enjoying what we're doing, and impressing our boss and everything else. And I did mention briefly that when you get raises, there's a range. It's about 6 to 8%, or sometimes maybe it's 2 to 10. But what I can tell you is raises are hardly ever, let's say, 20% raises. They're hardly ever 50% raises. They're most definitely almost never 100% raises where you double your income. Okay, but there's a way to do that, and that's the next step that you talked about in the title, which is that raises are constrained. Raises are limited by their job description. Those job duties that job role has can only ever earn a certain amount of money. And so they have to give you a raise in this band, in this small little range. But the thing that helps you jump to the next level of pay is a promotion, because your entire job description has now changed, or at least a part of it has been added to. You now have more responsibility. You now have more jobs that you're being required to do, and they're usually of a higher degree of responsibility, a higher degree maybe of skill. And so therefore, you could be paid more to do it. And so it's not uncommon that a promotion increases what you're looking at far more than that 6 to 8%. And promotions can do everything I just said. Promotions could even potentially double what you're earning, which would be 100% raise, which is impossible in the normal process. So how do promotions work? And here's the really cool part about this. They build on how the raise works. So if you're doing the how to get a raise process anyway, showing up to work on time, doing the job, talking to your boss, you're already doing 80% of the how to get a promotion, right? You're already there. The real kicker for the promotion bit, and this goes back to what you were talking about, Kristen, is understanding two things. One, the promotion opportunities almost always happen in some way that you don't know. So just like the annual review happens in April, let's say, and it's in that room over there that you're not invited to, and your boss goes in there and fights for you, promotions almost always happen at a time that you are completely unaware of. They could be happening today. They could be happening tomorrow. They happen for all kinds of reasons within business, right? We could be expanding. We could want to expand, so we're going to hire somebody new to help with that, right? Somebody could have retired. There's all kinds of reasons that opportunities will open up for you, all right? And they can happen every single day. And the way that they happen is that your boss and some other boss are normally in the hallway over there, away from you, having a conversation about whatever the opportunity was. Oh, Chris is retiring. What are we going to do? Oh, did you know Kristen's team needs to grow? We need two more people, and they're doing gangbusters. What are we going to do? We're going to have to go on LinkedIn. We're going to have to go check Indeed. We're going to have to do ZipRecruiter. Do you know anybody in your network? Oh, Nelson's got a great network, by the way. But do you know anybody in your and then? But here's what you want to have happen, and here's what's going to happen if you're doing the how to get a raise process. Is Kristen and Chris are going, oh my God, this big challenge, this problem, what are we going to do? Oh, and Chris is going, I'm going to go do ZipRecruiter. I'm going to go pay $1,000 ad for LinkedIn. I'm going to go spend all this money. And Kristen goes, Chris, what you doing? You know who you need. You already know them. We don't need to go out to the public. Why are you doing that? You need this person over here who's number one on their team, who's impressed. Remember, they broke the record for the highest raise. We've never given that higher raise before. That's who you want on the team. So you just got a promotion. You don't even know it because they haven't talked to you yet. Okay. And this is the important bit, is when you're talking to your boss and stuff, again, those one-on-ones, you should be asking, what happens next? What other opportunities are there? I'm keen to learn. And most people are okay at this, Kristen. Most people are okay with that. But if you just add it to the secret sauce of what's going on there, it will be great. And here's the biggest, most important thing again, just like the 6 to 8%, when you say, can I break the record? You don't ask for 10. You say, can I? And you let them answer. So now Chris goes, you're right, Kristen. I'm going to go talk to him. I go talk to this person. I go, oh my gosh, I've got this great opportunity for you. Get on the team, promotion, more money, responsibility. You're going to love it. What do you say? You do not say yes. You say, that's wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. That's such a wonderful offer, and I appreciate it, and I'm interested, and I'm super excited. What's that look like? What's that pay? Are there benefits in that? And just ask some polite questions, right? Because you're negotiating. You may not realize it, but you're negotiating. You just say yes, they're going to give you whatever they want to give you, and you just said yes to it. Remember, they want you. You're number one. You broke the record. They came to you politely and respectfully. You just say yes, excited, would love it. What's that look like? Tell me more. Write that out for me. And then that's how you can, kind of get hopefully the best that you can.